The president saying he's now considering taking military action inside Iran. Do you want the U.S. to get involved like that?
Sure, absolutely. And now if it continues to make more sense, absolutely. I think I was the only Democrat that fully supported our strike of their Iranian nuclear facilities last year. And now, by then, without those kinds of strikes, Iran could have acquired a nuclear bomb. I hope we can all agree that Iran should have never acquired a nuclear bomb. And Iran is one of the world's top terrorist underwriter. And now you have that poisonous regime now in spiral. So why wouldn't we want to support that and those brave protesters?
The US is not ruling out a military intervention into Iran as hundreds have been killed during anti-government protests. The demonstrations threatening the existence of the country's regime show no sign of slowing. Thousands of people have staged a protest in support of the country's leadership as protesters can be heard shouting "Death to America" in footage broadcast by state media. The country's foreign minister says the situation is under control despite claiming Iran is ready for war. Tehran has confirmed it is keeping communications open with the US. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, has declared President Trump is not afraid to take military action.
One thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many, many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. What you're hearing publicly from the Iranian regime is quite differently from the messages the administration is receiving privately, and I think the president has an interest in exploring those messages. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
The US ambassador to Israel claims the Trump administration has no plans to intervene in Iran as tension there escalates. This as thousands of people take to the streets of Iran for counter-protests in support of the regime. Here's Adam Parsons.
A lot of Israelis looking to the skies, not so much at the weather, but because of memories of less than a year ago when missiles were traded between this country and Iran. So much speculation here of a renewal of that military conflict involving Israel and the United States. Well, today I sat down with Ambassador Mike Huckabee, America's man in Israel with so much influence in this region, and asked him for his thoughts on whether we are, once again, at the border of conflict.
I think we have a president that would rather never use military power. He would just rather never having to deploy it. But he's also a president that's not a chump. He's not going to watch people slaughtered. He will intervene when it's necessary, and he will deal with those who do horrific things.
But what kind of active role do you anticipate the United States playing in trying, I assume from your perspective, to try to hasten regime change?
I don't think it's something the United States is actively engaged in trying to hasten anything. It's a matter of respect, and this is how President Trump has framed it. He certainly wants there to be recognition that the government of Iran should not murder its own people, should not injure them and hurt them because they're protesting. They have a right to protest, and they're protesting about legitimate things.
I think what's very clear from Mike Huckabee's words there is that the United States does not want to militarily intervene. Why? Well, one of the things that happened when missiles were landing on Tehran last year was that people did begin to unify behind the regime. They won't want to do that this time unless they are provoked. And that was the other thing that I took out of that, was the space that Mike Huckabee had left, that if more images came out of protesters being killed, and of course hundreds already have been, then the US could change. Now the question would be, what would they do? And the suggestion would be that these would not be, of course, widespread missile attacks. These would be targeted against prominent figures in the regime. A very different sort of attack than the one that they carried out in Venezuela when they came in, took Nicolas Maduro, and they went out again before anyone had even barely realized. This would be significant. This could be escalatory. And that is why right now the Americans want to encourage protest, but do not yet want to encourage any military intervention of their own.